Hey, it's Kim, and we are doing the flip through of my planner for the month of May. I think May was pretty straightforward. I don't have any complaints. Unlike April, I had a lot of complaints about April, but May was pretty good for me, I would say, overall. So here is my monthly layout. I think it's pretty straightforward. As I mentioned in previous videos, I use this column over here usually to hold some of my task flags or page flags that I set up as reminders for myself throughout the month. So once the month is finished, this section remains pretty blank, and that's okay. Also, I guess I should mention, this is the Sterling Ink Common Planner in the N1 size, which is also known as Standard Traveler's Notebook. I have the full year version of the planner, and I currently have it housed in a Moterm Companion Traveler's Notebook cover. I think somewhere along those lines, that is the name of it. So that's my setup. And I do also have a thicker notebook in here that I use for notes and finances. And this one is by Good Ink Impressions. So those two are that's what kind of makes up everything that I have in here. Oh, and also like a makeshift folder that I made for myself. And that's it. So the monthly layout was pretty straightforward for me. It worked out extremely well. I have some items noted on here. I did one little section of like some micro journaling, which I feel like I mentioned in a previous video. I haven't been doing this year at all. So that is something that I used to do last year quite a bit on my monthly layouts, especially when I had some open space. I would kind of write out a little blurb, maybe about that week, maybe about something that occurred on the actual monthly layout, but I haven't been doing that lately. So this is the first time I've done that, and I like the way it looks. I like that it kind of fills in some of the space. So yeah, moving on to the weeks. So I have been sticking to what I call that Nolte layout for my weeklies, and I have been liking it. I have decided, which I mentioned in my June Plan With Me video, that I'm going to switch to something else for July. I'm kind of not over it, this layout, but just ready to move on to something else. I haven't determined what that something else is going to be. Maybe it'll be just something I've used previously. Maybe it'll be something new for the weekly layouts. But the structure for this layout is the same. The center I'm using for notes, weekly task list, and then notes on the right hand side. On the bottom, I'll record my workouts and my dinners. And then up at the top are day specific items, as well as like day specific events, as well as day specific tasks that I want to get done. And then in this little highlighted section, I theme my days. So I'll tell myself like what's going to be a work day, what's going to be maybe like an admin day. So that's where I put that for Monday through Friday. And then as usual, my little sticky note for ideas of what the dinners are going to be for that week. I don't like to write them down here ahead of time. I like to write them after we actually had that for dinner. So that layout is the same for all of the weeks in May. And I will say a lot of the weeks, I believe I didn't do hardly anything over here on the right hand side in terms of notes. And that did kind of bug me just a little bit. I felt like I wasn't using the space good enough or well enough. I don't know. And there are weeks where I didn't have a lot of tasks that I wrote down. I actually do need to swap over some of these page flags, which I'll have to remember to come back and do later. Oh, but no, Costco. I'm going to swap over for next week because I want to go to Costco next week. Okay, so the layouts for the last couple of weeks of the month are pretty bare in the center. Not a lot of notes, not even a whole lot of tasks that I had on there, but they did function extremely well for me overall. So I have absolutely no complaints whatsoever. And then getting into the monthly section for May, here is where I have my monthly dashboard. On the left is where I set up what I'm going to focus on for the month and what I'm reading, learning, watching, and any projects that I'm working on. And then on the right is my one line a day where I'll record some highlights. So all of that is filled in just as it usually or normally would be. So the monthly dashboard is pretty straightforward and nothing new here. Now getting into the dailies for May. My dailies were just okay. I don't know. I didn't feel really inspired to do a lot of memory keeping or journaling within my dailies for the month. And actually, this is the little sticky note that I have been moving from month to month for my monthly reset or monthly game plan. The last video I put out shows all about that, my whole monthly game plan type thing that I do before my monthly reset. So every month I have been just moving this sticky note, but for June I decided to actually set up like a bit of a collection or a spread inside of my planner. I'm not sure if I'll do that for every month going forward, but that's what I did. You can catch that on my last video. And I also found that I wasn't using a whole lot of stickers in May. I used some here and there, but not a whole lot. I started doing this cleaning schedule spread, never finished it. I can come back to it, definitely. I also, over on the right hand side, was doing some perfume testing. I got some samples from a friend and took some notes on the things that I loved, things that I hated, things that I actually ended up purchasing. That's what I added there. And then this is the type of spread that I really like. It has a lot of journaling mixed in with some stickers and some things that I called out using markers. And this is where I was noting my morning library versus my evening library. It's a thing I just started doing. I started calling books or putting them into different categories. I think I also explained that in that last video all about setting up goals. Yeah, I did. So here we go. And I have been sticking with doing all of the reviews for each week. And there were some spaces where I was able to use a lot of the larger scene stickers because I had some blank space on the pages. But of course, other areas where there were blank space on the pages, I didn't mind at all. I never really do. And the dailies for May are just to-do lists for the day, a little bit of journaling here and there, even less notes about like things that I need to remember, things that I need to come back to. And that's pretty much how it's shaped up. Oh, I did have this little sticker here because I wanted to create a spread someplace. And I was going to put this on my next page where I have like a blank page, which I don't have just yet. So maybe I'll just park this here and leave it there for when I do have a blank page. I'll move it to where that is and set that collection up. So this is Memorial Day weekend, actually. This was Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day, and then the last few days of the month. And I had nothing going on this spread, and I'm okay with that. I did have a few sticky notes parked here that I then migrated into the June pages, but I decided to leave all of this empty. And that's where May ended. And then my last spread for May is, of course, my monthly recap or my monthly journal spread, which is similar to this one, where I print out some photos and some memories and jot down a few notes about what happened throughout the month. I had not gotten around to doing that yet. I do have my photos picked out and printed, but just haven't had time to sit down and do that because I feel like this entire week has been a bit crazy for me. So yeah, haven't made the time to do that just yet. I will, and I will probably show that, I don't know, maybe on like Instagram stories or a future flip through, of course. So that was May in my planner. Nothing really of note. I find that for the month, I was doing a lot of deep focused work. So I honestly was just focused on my hustle. I was just focused on my focus. So there wasn't a lot going on in my planner, I don't think. Or at least not a lot of creativity that was going on in my planner. And that's okay. I do feel like as June is starting, I'm missing that part of it. I'm missing like adding in the memory journaling. So I'm definitely going to be adding a lot more of that into my June pages. It ebbs and it flows. It's life, you know, guys? It's life. All right, so that wraps up the flip for May in my planner. This is, again, the Sterling Ink Common Planner in the N1 size. And I do have the full year version. And this is how it's chunking up for the year. I quite like it. The spine is doing just fine and everything is working out very well for me. So there you have it. Thank you so much for following along on today's video, going through all of May inside of my planner. I would really appreciate it if you liked the video to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.